So I'm sitting here at work and taking a look at some things. And I was thinking about EVs today and how sales and registrations are kind of leveling out, if not falling. And EV producers, like most of the domestic and Euro automakers that are making them, are starting to roll back on their contribution to the EV sector of the auto market. And I was thinking to myself, well, why? Aren't they supposed to be like the next big thing? Aren't they supposed to be better than sliced bread and all that stuff? And I think I've got a couple answers as to why things aren't going that well. In order to want an EV, you have to be fundamentally disconnected from the common man. You have to be a bit of a contrarian. You have to be willing to do a bunch of workarounds to prove that something works. And you kind of, in some cases, have to really enjoy government intervention. So let me kind of break that down a little bit further. But first, let me say EV sales are flagging because we're running out of people who are out of touch with the common man, who are sort of masochistically willing to endure workarounds to prove that something should work, and who are sort of fans of government invention. There's only so many of those people to go around, right? And we've run the course on how many people are willing to take that plunge, and certainly with disposable income as well. So the other reason that EV sales are kind of dropping off is, again, it's a common man question. I think 90% of the people, that's a bit of a misestimation. Here in this city, I think about 70% of the population is either renting or own in a situation where they can't charge an EV. So that is to say, they have an older apartment building with older service, and it's not going to be upgraded. And they have no place to park that isn't the street. And, most of the year they put gas in their car, they leave for work every day, they park it on the street, and they may not even be able to charge it at work. So for these people, there's no incentive to spend $60,000 on an EV that they can't charge and may not be able to repair as readily as their used Honda Civic. Their $10,000 beater, their $5,000 beater that they've faithfully kept on the road with minimal maintenance for 5 or 10 years. There's no room at the inn for normal people who have normal lives for these things. And what I see constantly is a barrage of sort of the EV immune system online when somebody brings this up. And when you look into the profiles of the people who are saying EVs should work for people and they work for me, you look at them and they're usually boomers, and they've got a 2-car garage and an acreage and all of the trimmings of an excess life that the younger generation is unable to really mirror or cope with as effectively. So it's a bunch of out-of-touch people who are trying to get people to uptake EVs, and I don't think that's going to continue to work as the economy worsens, as interest rates continue to rise and affordability becomes more and more of a crisis for more and more people. It's not in the cards to make that radical shift when what you have already works for you. And that's where the second prong of my expectation of the failure of EVs comes in. It's government intervention. So here in Canada, we're going to have an election in 15 or so months, I think, or 18 or whatever it is. And the new government's going to pretty much turn off the taps when it comes to incentivizing the purchase of EVs and the disincentivization of fossil fuel vehicles. So all that artificial subsidy money is going to go away, and that's going to further drive normal people who can barely afford an EV away from purchasing one. And I think that's great. I think that if I'm meant to have an EV, then the free market, absent of any government subsidies and any incentives other than free market capitalism, should be able to provide me an EV that I can purchase with no downsides versus an internal combustion vehicle. And I'm just not seeing it. And for the last 10 or 15 years, the government's been pushing hard, and spending tons of money that really isn't even theirs to try and get this thing off the ground. And they've only hit 8% uptake, something like that. And that's not going to last. So again, the elitist viewpoint that if we all just believe and spend lots of money, this will work out, doesn't seem to be working out, and especially not for commoners who are increasingly trapped between debt and a world that views them as vestigial if they choose not to go along with EVs. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I think is really interesting about EV uptake is that aside from Tesla and maybe brand new EV startups like Rivian, etc., is all of the incumbent automakers seem to be doing their best to make sure that EVs don't get off the ground. So I want you to kind of consider Ford first of all. Ford has two EV products right now. They have the Ford Lightning, which is their version of an electric pickup, and they have the Mustang Mach-E. Now, Mustang and Lightning are Ford's two most heritage-heavy product line, brands, nameplates, whatever. They have the most brand capital in those two. So what do? They take a two-door sports car that's a very aspirational vehicle, and they put that nameplate on a five-door retarded electric pimple on fucking stilts. Okay? Think about the marketability of that. And then what they do is they take the Ford Lightning nameplate, which is a really cool pickup truck that was really sporty, light, chuckable, autocrossable, basically a Mustang with a bed, and they put it on a 6,000-pound, slightly more boxy, retarded electric pimple on stilts that has none of the attributes, aside from perhaps a little bit of form factor, to the original Lightning. Like, that's either incompetence or it's malice. It's either they had no idea and the marketing people all have a bus pass and they don't actually drive or know about motoring heritage, or they did it on purpose to make people say, what the fuck are you doing? And the reason I think that is, I look around and I still see 2022 Ford Lightnings and Ford Mach-E's on the lot begging for rubes to buy them, and nobody's buying them. In 2024, Q2 2024 as this is recorded. And you look at Mercedes-Benz with their EQ line and the, the iX from BMW, that hideous lineup of vehicles that both look like they were stung in the face by a wasp. Literally, the EQS looks like a Honda Accord or a Civic that was stung in the face. And they're ungodly expensive, $150,000, $200,000 vehicles without incentives. So it really seems to me that BMW, Mercedes, Ford, even GM are all doing us a favor because they don't want this to succeed any more than normal people do. They want to get back to giving us value-oriented vehicles that we just put gas in, we can park anywhere, and that get us to and from work with a minimum of drama. So I think they're all doing us a favor by sabotaging this using shareholder money. Because if you think about it, if they really wanted EVs to work, they would give us $7,000 EVs with the same range and the same charging speed as a Honda Fit or a Chevy Cavalier or any of the old greats that cost very little to run and worked for working class people. Because right now, EVs as it stands are, and especially the mandates for them, are an incredibly pointy, blood-drawing attack on working class mobility and independent mobility in general. So for automakers to take that away or to sabotage working class mobility would be suicide for their brands. They can't do that. So I think what they've done is they've honestly sabotaged EV uptake by producing shitty EVs that nobody wants. And for that, I actually really applaud them. I think that was the best thing they could have ever done. So yeah, my prognostication is in the next few years, EVs are basically probably going to be superseded or fade into the background as some sort of quirk, just like the last two times they tried them, because for all the same reasons then as now, they just don't work as effectively as they should for the vast majority of people who they would best benefit if they did work properly. Yeah, that's it. Mark my words. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat my hat, but I don't think I am. And I'm going to get a bunch of people in the comments who are like, I live in urban Vancouver and I commute 3 kilometers to work 4 days a week and my Tesla is perfect. Well, you know what? That's great. I'm glad that you have something that works for you. Surely you'll agree that if it works for you, you should be able to purchase it. But you also have to agree that if it doesn't work for me, and I know it doesn't work for me, I should be allowed to purchase what I want, and the market should be able to, absent of government intervention, provide that to me. If you need a mandate and tens of thousands of dollars of government assistance and massive propaganda to make your product work for most people, it doesn't actually work for most people. I want your EVs to succeed. But unless they concede in a totally free market, or unless they can succeed in a totally free market, they ain't worth fuck all for most people. I want you to remember that. Till then, I'm going to keep driving my real Mustang. Till they fucking shoot me for having it.